Hi, my name is Ashley, and I'm a mom of two little girls. I have a 5-year-old named Kylie, and I also have a 3-year-old named Mia. Now, if you've ever had a difficult time transitioning your child from one activity to the next throughout your day, then first, you should know that you're not alone. Transitions typically tend to be one of the most difficult times of any young child's day, but the good news is there are some things you can do to help guide your child through those times. So, from one busy parent to another, today I would like to share with you 5 different ways that you can manage transitions like a pro in your Montessori home. So when we're figuring out how best to navigate transitions with our child throughout the day, the first thing we need to recognize is that transitions are hard, especially for young children. So we really need to set some realistic expectations for ourselves going into any transition, just recognizing that there's a pretty good chance that our child may have some difficulties along the way, and not necessarily anticipating this in dread, but more so just accepting it and recognizing that it is a possibility and being ready for it. So the first and best tool that you can have in your toolkit as a parent for managing transitions is to establish a consistent daily and weekly rhythm with your child. And here I'm not referring to a schedule that has to adhere to a very specific timetable or else everything gets thrown off. I'm more so referring to a general sequence of events that happens in a predictable pattern each and every day for your child so that they know what to expect. Because as we all know, young children are creatures of habit. They like knowing what's up. And so the more we can provide them with this predictability and consistency, like a flow to their day, the less likely you're going to run into problems because they already know what's supposed to happen next because it's the same every day. For example, your child will know that after breakfast, they have time for independent play while you wash the dishes. Or they know that right after lunchtime, they have to take a nap or they have quiet time. Or they know that right after dinner time, it's time to clean up their play space and then get started with the bedtime routine. When they know what to expect, there is much less room for negotiation and questioning as to what is going to happen, and they're a lot more likely to be cooperative. And this same idea applies to your weekly rhythm as well. So let's say that Monday through Friday, the routine is that your child goes to school or daycare while you go to work, and then you pick them up in the afternoon, you come home, you have some time to decompress and play before you get started with dinner time and the bedtime routine and whatever else is a part of your normal rhythm. And then maybe on Saturdays and Sundays, that looks a little different. Maybe you have some family time on Saturday. Maybe on Sundays you go to church in the mornings or grandma and grandpa come over for their weekly visit. Again, this is going to look very different depending on your particular family circumstances, but the idea here is the same. There is a flow throughout your week from Monday to Sunday. Now, if at any point in your daily rhythm you're finding that there is a specific point of contention, something that your child really seems to be struggling with, for example, maybe it's getting ready for school in the morning, then this might be a good opportunity to potentially explore using a routine chart with your child, where you actually have a list of all of the events that need to happen in the proper order for that particular routine. Now, if your child is younger, it's best to use pictures for each of the events on the routine chart. So you might have a picture of a bathtub for bath time, and then maybe a toothbrush for teeth brushing, maybe a little picture of a storybook for bedtime stories, whatever events are in your routine. Or you can also potentially take a picture of your child doing each of these things and have those as the pictures. This way your child can actively refer to the routine chart. They don't need to rely on you anymore to be the nagging reminder, okay, what do we need to do next? Or okay, it's time to do this. Instead, you can defer to the routine chart and say, why don't you go check and see what's next on your bedtime routine chart and allow your child to take some of the responsibility. So again, you can use a routine chart for any part of your day where your child typically struggles with that transition. I wouldn't use them for everything, just the ones where they might need a little bit of extra help. The next tip for managing transitions is to leave plenty of time and adjust the schedule if needed. So oftentimes we get caught up in what we're used to doing, getting up at a certain time and then saying, okay, we need to accomplish X, Y, and Z, brush teeth, put on our clothes, eat breakfast, get the backpacks packed, and then we all need to be out the door by 7:30. But the problem is sometimes we just don't leave enough extra time, enough padding in that schedule to allow our child to actually navigate the transition independently. So instead, we find ourselves following behind our child saying, did you brush your teeth yet? Did you put your shoes on? Did you pack your backpack? Where's your homework? Oh my gosh, I have no idea where I put my keys. And we're feeling frazzled and frustrated very quickly. And then in turn, our child is feeling frazzled and frustrated. And that's definitely not a good way for anybody to start their day. So making sure that we're building enough time into our schedule for our child to be able to complete the tasks that they're responsible for to get through that transition, that is going to be of the utmost importance, especially if our child is really working on mastering some of those important independent skills, like being able to dress themselves, putting on their own shoes, making sure they're packing their backpack or their lunchbox. They need extra time to complete those tasks. They can't do them as fast as we do as adults. And if we're constantly rushing them, then they're not going to be able to do it to the best of their ability, which leads to more frustration for everybody involved. So I think you guys get the point. If you have a transition somewhere in your day that is feeling particularly rushed, then that's a pretty decent red flag right there that you need to go back and look at your schedule. How much time are you really providing for all of the things that need to happen? Maybe you need to set your alarm clock for an extra 20 minutes early and get started in the mornings a little earlier than you'd like to, so that everybody can kind of go at their own pace and feel a lot more confident about what they're doing. And if you know that there's a particular skill that your child is actively working to master right now, let's say putting on their shoes by themselves, and you know that it's going to take a little bit of extra time, then maybe you set aside some extra time to practice this skill at a completely neutral time, not in the middle of the morning rush. And then when there are mornings when maybe things are running a little bit behind schedule, you can easily say to your child, I know you really want to put your shoes on right now by yourself, but I'm going to help you today. And then you help them get through that transition so everybody can get out the door. But then you're making sure that there are other times during your day where they will have an opportunity to practice at their own pace. All right, your next pro tip for managing transitions is to connect and let them know ahead of time. So there are two different ways that you can approach this. First is through verbal only reminders, or you can also make use of a timer. So the first part, connecting. Making sure that you're not just shouting 5 minutes left from wherever you are in the house or at the park, but instead you're actually taking the time to pause, go over to wherever your child is, get down on their eye level, make eye contact, and connect with their experience. It looks like you're having a lot of fun right now playing with your trains, or you're really enjoying that slide, aren't you? Whatever it is that they're doing, letting them know that you see them. And then once you have their attention, you let them know in very clear language that the transition is coming. We have 10 minutes left until we're going to leave to go home. Now, keep in mind that young children don't really have a conceptual understanding of this abstract concept of time. So 10 minutes might not really mean anything to them. So something that you can do to help bridge that gap for them is to come back and offer them periodic reminders until the time is up. So maybe you're starting with 10 minutes, but then you're coming back over 5 minutes later and saying, hey buddy, just so you know, we have 5 minutes left until we're going to go home. And then do the same thing again at 2 minutes. And then you come over when it's actually time to leave and you start that transition. So another way to approach this, especially if you're just relying on verbal warnings that a transition is about to happen, is to again think of it in terms of a sequence of events instead of a specific amount of time. So you might say to your child, hey, after breakfast is over, we're going to get ready to go to the library or the grocery store or the doctor appointment, whatever you've got coming up on your schedule. This way, your child can clue in on when breakfast is over. That is something very concrete that they can understand, as opposed to saying in 5 minutes. Now, with that said, there are still going to be times where you may need to rely on an amount of time, like 10 minutes or 5 minutes left, to refer to the transition that's coming up. And to help your child, since we know that they're not very good with understanding how long 10 minutes is, you can provide them with a visual timer. Now, this kind of timer is great for young children because it visually depicts the passage of time using a little chunk, a little pie slice of color that slowly gets smaller as the time runs out. And then once the time is up, there's no color left. So that's something that a young child can look at and actually kind of have an understanding that, okay, it's getting smaller, which means time is running out. So for example, in using a visual timer, perhaps you're playing outside in the backyard and you bring the visual timer with you and you say, okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to go inside for lunch. Would you like to help me set the timer, and then you and your child together can make sure that you set it to the appropriate amount of time, and then your child can see it. They know that the time is winding down and that when the 5 minutes is over, it is time to make that transition to go inside for lunch. Now, some children do really well with visual timers, others might not. So it's something that you can certainly try and feel out. If it works for your child, great. If not, there are definitely other strategies that you can use. Now, the next tip for managing transitions is to offer a choice. And this is a really helpful strategy because it helps your child to feel empowered. They have some measure of control over what's happening during this transition. And it kind of helps to ease them into it. They feel a little bit more cooperative and willing. So let me give you some examples. Let's say you're playing at the park and it's almost time to leave. You approach your child, you take a moment to connect with whatever they're doing, and then you let them know the transition is coming. We have 5 minutes left until we're going to leave the park. We have time for one more activity. Would you like to go on the swings or the twisty slide? You decide. Or maybe during your morning routine, everybody's getting ready to leave the house for school and work, and you say to your child, we need to leave for school in 5 minutes. Would you like to put your shoes on by yourself, or would you like for me to help you? Just being offered a choice can be a total game changer for young children to help them get through those tough transition moments. But sometimes, no matter how solid our daily rhythm is, no matter how much extra time we've built into our schedule, no matter how many warnings we've given them that the transition is coming, or how many choices we've offered them, sometimes it's still not going to be enough because guess what? They're children. Sometimes they're still going to have difficulty with the transition. They are just having way too much fun playing with their trains, and the idea of bedtime is not that appealing. So sometimes we're just gonna have to gather up all of our patience and help our child to follow through. We just have to be good observers. We have to be on the lookout for any signs and notice right away if it looks like our child is hesitating at all about going through the transition, and be ready to come in with what, I love this, Janet Lansbury calls it, confident momentum. Just being ready to say, I'm going to help you put your shoes on today, because you can already tell that they're probably not going to do it themselves. Or even if your child is totally capable of climbing up into the car and getting into their car seat all by themselves, they do it every day. If today it looks like they're going to have some difficulty with it, we're there. We're ready to say, I'm going to help you get into your car seat today. And we're gently lifting them up, we're putting them into their car seats, recognizing that our child may not have the most agreeable feelings about this situation. They may loudly express their discontent with what's going on, and you are there to just hold space for those feelings, just to acknowledge their experience. Yes, I can see you're having a really hard time with this. You don't want me to put your shoes on, but as you're still continuing to do this for your child, gently and lovingly, but as firmly as possible, you're helping them follow through. All right, friends, so I hope you found these 5 tips for managing transitions helpful. If you did, then please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like more practical tips and advice for implementing Montessori at home with your children, then you might also consider subscribing to my channel. This way you don't miss a new video. My new book, The Montessori Home, Create a Space for Your Child to Thrive, is now available in both paperback and ebook on Amazon and in all major book retailers. I also offer several e-courses, an online community just for Montessori parents, and live video consultations. Links to all of those resources are in the description box down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.